The man who put his life in an arrow had a purpose beyond any honor. Today we are going to talk about him as a myth. To understand the story of Arash, we have to look back at his time, when the king Manucher's great-grandfather was ruling. As we told this story before, King Feridun had 3 sons. He was ruling Iran for 500 years as a fine king and at the satisfaction of the people. Back then, Iran was a large land including India on the right, way to the Minor Asia and Egypt on the left. Feridun divided his land between his 3 sons, Iraj, Salm, and Tur. Salm got the land of Sarmatians. Turan became the territory of Tur, and Iraj became the king of Iran. Iraj's share seemed more fine and valuable, and this fact caused the jealousy of 2 other brothers. From this point, the spite between brothers began, and one day where they were arguing, Iraj was killed by his brother. Years later, Iraj's grandson, Manucher, became the king of Iran after many tries. Manucher felt a great vengeance for his grandfather. He was ready to do anything to revenge him, at any cost. So from this point, the war between Iran and Turan began. After a long time of bloody wars, in a great one which was led by 2 kings, some agreement came along. Manucher, the king of Iran, and Afrasiab, the king of Turan, seeing the fetish and disgust of their armies, agreed that an archery marked the border between 2 countries. And this is where Arash, a great Iranian archer, elected to throw an arrow with a special bow. In stories, it is said that the goddess of earth helped to create that bow. Then Arash, the archer, put his life into the arrow and throwed it at the sunrise. The wind helped Arash and blew in the right direction. The arrow continued its way for half a day, and from Damavand, which was the highest mountain of Iran in the middle of Iran, landed beside Jeyhun River, a river in current Afghanistan, and Arash was dead. Orientalists have attributed Manucher to the Parthian dynasty. It means it may happen in 247 BC to 224 AD. But as some of them say, was it just an exaggerated story about a man who lived as a hero, or we are facing something more than a story? Even this story has happened in some view in a simplest version. Still, there are many symbols that lead us to some myths way back then. So let's dig in more. The enemy in this war is Afrasiab, king of Turan, and he is a myth himself. Afrasiab is famous for shooting and incarcerating several people in several stories, which have all something in common. All the ones that Afrasiab had held in dungeons before were symbols of fertility in their own stories. So we can say that he is somehow an enemy to fertility of the nature, which now is holding lands, and he is not willing to give Iranian their lands back, which means soil and then fertility forces of it. In this way of narrating the story, Arash is freeing the fertility forces by extending the Iran's border. As more as his arrow land further, more land and opportunity will be for Iran. Another symbol is the bow itself. Esfandarmaz, the goddess of earth, is included in creating it herself. So some unhuman force, who is a goddess, is in the middle of the operation. And the bow is a visualization of the mountain in shape itself, which again reminds us the earth and its forces. Also, top of the mountain, where Arash will go to throw his arrow, is the Teshtar star place. Teshtar is an ancient star, and people used to pray to her to rain and help the fertility of their lands. So you can see that we are moving from history or historical story to mythology. In some ancient Iranian stories, it's said that the fairies of drought used to flow in the air, and the way to stop them was to throw arrows at them and take them down. All these signs guide us to believe Arash is a myth that somehow is fighting drought, and he is willing to bring back fertility even at cost of his life. In some stories, it is said that Arash was an old man who lived his whole life waiting for this moment. In some others, it's said that Arash was a young man who knew that throwing that arrow would kill him, but after predicting that, he arched and died honorably. In all possible narratives, he is dying for a great purpose, and that's the only part that matters. In the end, the arrow lands in a river, or in some other narratives, on a tree. In both ways, river and tree are symbols of fertility and culture, and it's the goal of this myth to have good forces of the nature back. Also have a border in which they are protected by their fine kings, and of course end the wars, which are destructive.